Welcome to the Addict to the Brush. Well, Illuminor Szeras's base is now dry, so next thing I'm going to do is put some Valhalla Blizzard on there. I'm not going to use that water for it. I think I'm going to have to clean that before I carry on much further. So I'm going to want some Valhalla Blizzard. I'll get things set up first. Where's the other tool? There it is. So what I'm going to do is scoop a couple of scoops, probably 3 for this one I think, into a tub. We're going to add some water to that. So we'll pause a sec, change my water, add some fresh water to this. So we're all set up with what we need now. I've added a little bit of water to this, not a huge amount. You get an idea of how much water I've added. I've added like probably about 5-10 cc's at most. I've got 3 spatulafuls of Valhalla Blizzard already in there, and I'll mix that up in a bit. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dump some Valhalla Blizzard in a few places on the base where I think I need to put some. So I think about the way that snow scatters and blows around. It tends to blow up against structures on all sides, fill in gaps, level things out. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some up against the rocks at the back. Likewise, coming from this side. Just smear some down. I'm probably going to dump more down. I want to try and make sure that I don't obscure that skull, so I'll probably be a little bit more careful in how much I put around this side. Being careful, trying not to get it on the priest if I can help it. Just noticed a little bit getting onto him. At this stage I can just brush it off, dump the brush in for clean water. Again, only use clean brushes for this. Don't use anything that you've already got pigment on, otherwise you will curdle the colour of your snow. Even a tiny bit of colour will be enough to offset the effect. Put a little bit down there because I want to try and get some into him, right the front of him. Again, we're going to go up against these rocks. Quite heavily into those. Let's turn him around and do this bit. Some around there. A slightly trickier bit. I need to try and get some over here and over here underneath the base. I think I'll just run this into this bit over here. And at the moment you're like, you're erasing the detail we've got there. We can come back, don't worry. We got this. Now I want to give a bit more detail to where the priest is and the snow around him. So I want it to look like there's more snow up here towards the front. I'm doing this kind of deliberately because I want it to look like he's dragged himself through fresh snow. So I want a little bit more scattered snow about. And yes, at the moment it just looks like I've smeared white toothpaste all over his base. This is Valhalla Blizzard, and the first few times I used this stuff I was like, what the hell is this stuff? Why am I using it like this? This is ruining my miniatures. It wasn't until I worked out the next stage that I realised where I was making my mistake. Just leave a little bit of path behind him clear. We'll clean the tools up later. This is where it starts to look better. So first thing I'm going to do is mix this Valhalla Blizzard in with the water that we've already got there. This is effectively our dilution. We're using this rather than water so that wherever we go we put what looks like snow material down. And then we're going to come over the top of where we've already put the snow down and just jab into it. This blurs the edges of it. We can always come back in and clean some of it up later. Just want a bit of snow everywhere, to be honest. So just starting to blend it out a little bit. Trying to push the snow more towards the edge of him. This way, hopefully, I make it look like the snow has blown up into the rocks, scattered about, and been blown about. I will come back and clean that skull off. Just squeezing some of this colour into the front of him. We will have to come back with a small brush in a minute. The bit that you can't see is underneath his base. Just again smushing the snow medium up into the underside, just because snow would blow around, it would get trapped there. The very last bit of the base, the back of it, and then I also want to come in and make sure there is some of this material getting caught up into there, so that we tie the whole piece together. Very light clean off of the brush, and I can come around, just check that things are as they need to be. Do need a small brush for that. I'm going to add some more of this material up on top of the rocks, and as this stuff dries it will just look like snow scatter, snow that's blown around. Yeah, I need to correct that. Don't like using this. I don't like using a better brush. I've got an older brush. I've got a thinner older brush that I can use. It's just a case of making sure this pigment gets up his clothing. Make it look like he's pushing with his foot. Just wipe away the bits that have got on his clothing. Don't want too much getting into places. Don't mind a little bit. Ties him in a bit better. So we will leave him to dry. Whilst we wait for the base to dry, we're going to put the X-ray flame in that in. So this is an older GW contrast as far as I'm concerned. The classics are technical, but it came out just before contrast really hit the public, and to all intents and purposes I think this is a contrast paint. So what I'm going to do is just paint it liberally over any of the areas that we're going to have Tesseract glow over the top. This just edges the area and accentuates the effect of the glow when we put it back over the top. And yes, I'm using it neat straight out the tub. The bit on his staff. One of the things this does help with, it shows up where the edges are, which helps in tidying it up afterwards. That's the one on the staff. Just going to prop that there. We've got the one on the back of him. Make sure I want to go all the way around it. So we've got that one. There are a couple of other parts that need this on, and I will quickly change down to a smaller brush in a sec. In fact, I'll do that now. So we've got this one here. On the back of the gauntlet, so that's that done. We've also got an eye lens that needs this. Pardon me folks, that's my stomach again. I have to mute in a minute. So let's just put a little bit of X-ray flame on his eye. Didn't really want to do that because I've now got Valhalla Blizzard running off onto my fingers because of the water that we used. So it might be time to leave him to dry in a minute. However, there are two things I still want to tackle with this X-ray flame. I'm doing it this way around. On the other Necron models where the colours aren't reversed, I've had to use, or I've chosen to use white oil wash because it's been more effective. but on this part of the chest, in fact, I will leave him to dry. It's not fun. I'll show you with this part, so I can do it on just this part without getting myself soaked. What I want to do is run some X-ray flame just into the ribs. Adjust the colour down so that I take out the pigment out of the centre, because I want to put some Tesseract Glow over that. Normally I've done white ink because once it dries it flows perfectly whilst it's wet. Once it dries it adds a real vibrancy that you can see on the other Necrons in the videos. I'm going to leave that there for a few minutes to dry, and we'll come back once that's dry. Right, the base is more or less dry, so what I can do now is I first need to add the X-ray flame to the other side of the chest, so I haven't done that yet. Whilst it was running wet, it wasn't worth trying it. Just into these sections of the rib. Try and draw it along. Wick away most of the paint. What I want to do is leave that outline there, but take a significant portion of that paint away. For afterwards. So I can leave that to dry as is. Next thing I'm going to do is see that that's no longer viable. So I'm going to want some more wraith bone out. Do it down with a little bit of water, and I'm going to want a smaller brush. Hopefully I can see this and you can as well. So I'm just going to come back in with this thin wraith bone and just try and put a little bit in the centre. Don't have to be too neat. At the end of the day it's going to match into the rest of it anyway. With these, what I tend to do is paint across. Just looks like I've painted the cross on the top of a hot cross bun. Doesn't have to be perfect because the Tesseract Glow and the Hex Wraith are fairly similar colours and they will blend together. That's the reason I'm using them like this. So just want to come back to the middle of this, don't need to go all the way around. Just the centre line. Trying to keep some of that darker green at the edge. Just loosely sketching the rest of the face. And whilst I'm here, I'm just going to give that crystal a little bit of a, I don't mind some colour in it. Where that colour is that's important. Right. Leave that piece to dry. I've got a couple of other parts that have got this Tesseract glow going over the top of them. The first and easiest is the eyeball, and again I'm just trying to get the bottom edge more than anything else. And then I want to try and catch the side back here. This side's a lot easier. You're not going to see the back edge of it anyway, so if you're able to see any of this at all, I don't like how flexible his body is. There doesn't seem to be a lot holding his upper torso to his lower torso other than two anchor pins. So I'm not sure on that. Maybe he's a little bit more stable when he's completely together. But it does seem like a vulnerability to the model. So next up, we're going to put some Tesseract glow on it. That's not Lamia medium, that's Lamia medium. I use this one at the back. Just use a big brush to pile some out. I'm doing that purely because Tesseract glow is quite sticky. Works a little better if it's a little thinner. Now I will need to change my water after this. Apologies for the text alert. This will probably be the last colour I do today before we get on to assembling other bits. So the first one I'm going to tackle is the first one we did, which is the one on the wrist. So it's Tesseract glow into that one. You'll see what I mean by how it blends in just a sec. That's that one. And as you can see, it blends the parts together quite well. So I'm not doing anything complicated, I'm just literally washing and layering. I can leave that to dry. That is eye lens. And this ball tank on the back. So I'm going to use a little bit just on the ribs where we've already been. And this will become explanatory when we come to use the white ink later, because we're not going to about do what we've done with the other Necrons on this model. But at least this matches it in. So those are the bits that needed Tesseract glow. I think I am going to get away with getting a couple of other colours in before I need to change anything. So we've got the cartouche on the blade. So I'm just going to wash this with some Talisar blue. Again, I don't need to worry about being neat at this stage. It's more about making sure that part is the right colour. So the cartouche is done. I'll leave that to dry. Right, before I break out the black, I want to see if I can give this detail in his hand a light dry brush with some Wraithbone. So again, I'm keeping the brush wet. I'm trying to only attack the raised areas. This is because I'm going to use a different colour over the top and try and accentuate that something's going on. So I don't mind the brush being a bit damp. It helps accentuate the effect, hopefully. brighten that up a little bit. And there's one part of it that's on this as well, so I need to make sure we're keeping it similar. And again, this is a bit tricky because this part is very fragile, so I'm holding parts of it with my finger whilst I work on it, just because I don't want it breaking. So I'm taking my time with it, just being gentle. Now I can leave that to dry. You take the same approach to the blackstone, just trying to catch the edge of it at the moment. Let's keep the same direction of travel. So I've done it that side, that way. Keep the same process this side. I may have to darken up some parts of this at a later date. It's a case of going backwards and forwards between several colours. I'll use some of this purple that's still here. Just on that face. Just a little concerned that was too bright. I need to do something about the outer edge, so again, use a different brush this time and try one. Just try and catch that side of it as well. Try to get something that looks more varied. So I can put another layer over the top of it. That's the final glaze, hopefully. The one other thing that I can get done on camera at this point is put the red dot in his eye, get the black done, and then wipe that, come back, tackle what's in his hand. So a little bit of matte black, see how well did the black take earlier on this. There's a couple of places I need to come back to. Feels a bit strange, as I said earlier, I feel a bit Bob Ross painting that at arm length, just throwing a bit of colour around. So I'm literally repainting what we'd already painted black, more in the recess areas, because of the fact that the caps on this part are going to be probably in gold. That should be sufficient for what we need. We've also got this little bit on the front of the tabard that needs some work. So once we've gone round it, I just need to pick up the tips on the 4 poles. And again, I do this like I've done the others. I will move the part rather than my hand. So that's been gone round. Bizarrely, I think that's also the edge of his waist. So I will put some wraith bone in on the edges. Hopefully it doesn't stand out of place compared to the rest of his waist. It is the same colour palette that we've used, so hopefully it will blend in well enough that it doesn't stand out. There's a little bit on the underskirt that we haven't got. You can't see it probably from that angle. There's just a little bit of black missing from around the bottom here. Just trying to neaten things up. And I may have to come in back with a spot of wraith bone and neaten that black up. Not ideal. It's just a tiny little spot of black in the wrong place, so I'm going to have to do this off camera because I need to be able to see it. know I've corrected that. You might not be able to see that, but I know I've done it. So we've got red eye lens to paint. And again, I'm going to go with a contrast. It runs fluid. Gives me the same colour as Miss Viston Red, more or less. But it is thinner. It is runnier. And it does the same job. I've got a little bit of colour where I don't want it. Yeah. Try and make that look like that's part of the glow off that eye. Happy little accident. Right, definitely the last thing for the day, otherwise the video is going to get too long. I'm going to make a very, very weak solution of Doomfire Magenta. I said yesterday this colour was horrific for its strength. So I can't think of a colour that's more potent in this in Games Workshop's range. Hopefully that's enough. That will require a whole palette change, a water change at least. Yeah, that don't look too bad. So I want to run this over the bits that I've just done with Wraithbone on this piece. You know what? I don't think that's strong enough. That will be. Let's see if this stains it better. Oh yeah, we got more staining now. What I want to do is get the area wet first, so I'm wetting the fingers and then letting the paint to pool in to help with this glow effect that I'm going to try and go for. So I don't mind some of this colour bleeding into other areas, because I want it to have the look of something that's being lit up. So I'll take that side the hand is being done. Do the same thing on this little piece. We can allow that to dry. And then lastly, back in on our little bit of black stone. That gives it an interesting colour profile. Right, I'm probably off camera going to get the base blacked up and get some of his limbs in position, get his chest glued in place, and then on tomorrow's video we will finish the assembly and look at painting up the staff and the rest of him. I've been the Adepts of the Brush. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you've seen, please like and subscribe and help the channel grow. Thank you. Goodbye.